Hello everyone. Welcome to our third lockdown video. I hope everyone's doing well. You'll have had our June newsletter by now. I hope you enjoyed it. Lovely Flower of the Month competition. Congratulations to Di Kerno who won. And congrats to everyone else who entered. Hope you had fun with the baby pictures, and I wonder if you were able to identify many of us. We've all changed quite a bit. Thanks again to Di for her lovely cake recipe, and to Val for sharing her instructions on making masks. And you'll also have seen the beautiful tablecloth that Val made, so thank you so much, Val. And I don't know when we'll be able to use the tablecloth, but I can't wait. Book group is carrying on. They meet the last Friday of the month. If you have any questions about book club, get in touch with Pat Gloin. Camera Club is holding our weekly challenges, taking pictures. If you're interested in that, let me know or speak to Lisa Elsie. We have no treasurer's report because our financial situation is the same. Nothing has changed. We don't really have any money coming in or going out. So if there is anything to report, I promise you Wendy will do a report next time. We have a few Federation events that I'm sure you've heard about. There is Heavenly Greenery church flower decorating in Carbis Bay. There's a propagation workshop at the Duchy College in Camborne, and there's a day of art and photography in Withiel. So please have a look at the website if you're interested in any of those events. And do remember that if you apply for a Federation event and they get cancelled, you'll get your money back. So don't worry. If you want to apply, go ahead and do it. It's easier to do it than get caught out and realize that you haven't signed up for something that you really wanted to go to. I'm sure some of you are wondering when we're going to be able to meet again together. And I wish I had an answer for you, but I'm afraid I don't. Jackie has been in touch with the Merley Hall, and they haven't really had any meetings or discussions about when they might reopen. They know we want to stay in the loop, so we'll be informed as soon as they do make any decisions. But as you know, even if the hall opened, the chances of us being able to meet there are pretty slim, given you know how small the hall is and how big our WI is. The chance of us being able to meet safely there, keeping 2 meters apart from each other, is virtually impossible. So I don't know what's going to happen or how we're going to work things, but please trust that we are thinking about it, and we haven't given up. As you do know, we're now allowed to meet outdoors in groups of up to 6 people. So if you're comfortable doing that, please do. I know a lot of people have welcomed others into their gardens for a cup of coffee. If you don't feel comfortable doing it, you don't have to do it. We're all sensible, intelligent women, so use your common sense, and you know what's right for you and the people you live with. That's all the brief business report from me. I'd like to introduce Christina Smith now, who's going to give us a little talk. She is Wendy Leo's niece, and she is a classical singer. She's going to give us a little talk about balancing family life and her singing career. And there's going to be a bit of singing as well, so I hope you enjoy it. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Christina Smith, and I'm 37 years old, and I live in Bournemouth. I have 2 children, Edward, who's 4, and Lucinda, who's 2. And first and foremost, I am a mummy to them, but I also like to sing. I was one of those children from age 2, every Sunday lunch, I'd be standing on a chair singing "Show Me the Way to Go Home" or something similar. And it was always called upon to me to be the sort of after lunch entertainment. And then throughout my teens, I went off to boarding school, and that's where I found my teacher, Nikki, and I started singing classically. Which is sort of where it's continued. I went to King's College London, whilst also going to the Royal Academy of Music, and I came out with a 2-1 in music. It's actually a BMUS, which is very unusual that it's a degree in music and not a Bachelor of Arts. And part of that course meant that I could have tuition at the Royal Academy, and I was very lucky. I auditioned for a professor there, and I got Mr. Ian Partridge, who is someone who's well known for English song, mainly leader, art song, that sort of thing. Sorry, you may hear my children in the background. After that, sort of life got in the way a bit, and I got married, and I had to go and find a career. And I found myself doing recruitment for the following 10 years. And I had a very successful career in recruitment, but I did miss my singing awfully. And it was only really when I met Rich, my current husband, back in 2013, that then in 2014, I was able to, I moved from Bedfordshire down to Bournemouth to be with him. I had family in the area. My grandparents were over in Christchurch. And that enabled me to be able to take up my singing again. Part of the deal was that I continued to have my vocal tuition. So I agreed with Nikki, so I went up every Thursday, and I still commute every week, apart from now obviously in lockdown. And I commute from Bournemouth up to St Albans in Hertfordshire every week to go and get my tuition, and it's more of a therapy than anything. My sister always tells Richard, my husband, that Christina Singing is a lot cheaper than if you had to get her a therapist. So that's always sort of the little joke. Anyway, last November I put on a charity concert for for Age Concern Christchurch, and it really sort of spurred me on with my singing, and I really wanted to then do something with it. My children now are getting to that age where they don't need me continuously. I can leave them for sort of 15-20 minutes, or they can go around to their grandparents, and they're very happy. And my son has started kindergarten as well, so that had freed up a bit of time. And I put on this concert, which essentially was the LRSM syllabus music, if you like. The reason why I took the first diploma actually when I was pregnant with Edward, and that all went very well. But the next diploma, which is the next, there's only two more after the first performance diploma, and it's called the first one's called an LRSM, which is effectively like having a master's degree in singing performance, essentially. But the exam's very expensive, so I didn't feel that I was quite ready to sort of, spend out £600 or so for an exam when I'm not actually earning any money from my singing. So I decided we put on this charity concert, and one chap there, he gave over £200 to hear me sing that evening. That was his donation. And I was absolutely flabbergasted that someone would want to pay that sort of money. Obviously it's for charity, and I'm sure it's a charity close to his heart, but he must have enjoyed himself, and we raised over £1,000 that evening for me singing for just over an hour or so. From that, that really spurred me on, and when I listened back to the concert, I actually thought, you know what, Christine, I actually don't mind listening to myself anymore. I think lots of performers, as we all do, we criticise and we don't like hearing ourselves singing or speaking. But I watched the video back and I thought, you know what, Christina, that's, you're doing pretty well. That's not too bad, actually. So I started to put my music up on YouTube, and this is actually a piece from the concert, which is called Art Je veux vivre. It's from Romeo and Juliet, Gounod's Romeo and Juliet, and it's one of the things I sung at that concert. So I hope you enjoy it. lovely. So yes, so that was one of the first pieces I put up onto YouTube, and then I started looking at agents. And unfortunately, I haven't still to this day received one even acknowledgement that I've sent my details in. I then looked into local sort of operatic singing competitions and some a little bit further afield, but trying to keep it UK based rather than having to go to Italy or somewhere like that. And I'm far too old. I'm 37 now, and most of them have age caps of 28, can you believe it? Even so much I get into conversation with the managers of these sort of concerts, and they go, "Oh, you sound fantastic, you sound exactly what we need, we've watched your videos." And then my age comes into question, and it gets cracked down. So I really did think that the only way to share my voice with everybody was to put my music up onto YouTube. So when we came into lockdown, I did a little piece of what it was like to sing with my children, and I used a backing track from a website called www.youraccompanist.com, and they eventually watched the video and they loved it. I'm going to play it here and pop it in here. That gives you a little bit of an idea of what it was like for me singing. So this is what Your Accompanist saw, and they asked me whether I would co-write a blog with them, so we could, you know, sort of discuss what music's like in lockdown. And the one thing that they picked up on from my first original video was the sort of the catchphrase "singing in my slippers," and they asked me would I therefore do I should continue with this, and could I do a series on YouTube. So for every week I have been putting up a piece of music. It involves a little chat from me, a little sort of vlog style video beforehand. Some of it's relevant to lots of people, other people it's not relevant at all and they just want to listen to the singing. That's absolutely fine. By all means, they can fast forward to the singing at the end. But I do give a little bit more of an insight into my life, or into fashion or makeup, or just what's going on that week before I start to sing. And it's gone down really well, and I think people are really sort of enjoying the series, and a lot of the numbers of the views have reflected that. And I've had lots of positive feedback. So whilst we're in lockdown, I'm going to continue singing with my children and singing in my slippers. But what I also wanted to say as well is that I joined Bournemouth Symphony Chorus back in January. Again, it's just to sort of meet more musicians, and could I actually meet more people within the area. And it is very much a semi-professional chorus. Everybody there, no matter what their age, they are very accomplished, and still very accomplished. Our director, Gavin Carr, he insists that everybody has vocal tuition. He wants serious singers in his chorus. So we are 140 strong. And during lockdown, we have been rehearsing via Zoom, which I think lots of institutions are using at the moment. We've had lots of people from lots of big sinfonia and philharmonic choruses and choirs, lots of bigwigs in the music industry come and sit in on our rehearsals. To see how we've been doing it, and we were very quick. Literally the next week after lockdown, second week of lockdown, we started back rehearsing. It's not the same, obviously, as being in a concert hall altogether, but we actually we have to rehearse in our seats at the Lighthouse in Poole. And the one thing with, obviously, that brings with it is health and safety. You can only have 140 people, so it's a one in, one out sort of chorus and situation. Everything's done by very strict audition. But obviously it's not going to be safe for us to go back to the Lighthouse anytime soon. So we have been doing these Zoom rehearsals, which has been lovely. And I think for a lot of our older members, we do these little coffee room, sort of breakout room scenarios halfway through our rehearsals. And it's been really good to speak to lots of people that we wouldn't normally. Because the way the Lighthouse is sort of formatted is that we sit in one big sort of crescent, and I sit right on the end on the first row, and so I would never see. In fact, there was a lady I didn't know was in the choir. She actually plays for one of the music groups I take my children to. And it took me 4 weeks before I saw her, and I didn't even see her in her seat. It was just because I saw her sort of around. So what's been lovely throughout lockdown is actually getting to know some of the other choir members, because normally we only sort of get to know the person on our left and the person on our right, and not a lot further than that. So it's been really lovely to meet with all the other chorus members. But the one thing it did highlight is that there are a lot of our members who live alone. And the only thing that they have during this lockdown period at the moment is with communication with our choir on a Tuesday evening, and singing. And so it is so good for lots of different reasons: our mental health, our interaction with other people, very much of sort of, giving someone something to look forward to. And I spoke to one lady, and she said, "Oh, the only thing I do is singing on a Tuesday and then clapping on a Thursday." And even that's sort of, I think, winding down now and coming to an end, if it hasn't already by the time you see this. And I spoke to another chap, and he said for 9 weeks he's only had one drink with one neighbour, and that's been his only communication with the outside world for all that time. And I just think, oh gosh, and obviously it was a socially distanced drink, and I don't think it lasted longer than one drink. So, the fact that the choir is so important to so many of our members, and they are still very much focused on being a professional when it comes to their craft and their art, we've all been able to experience the choir in a different way, and what it means to everybody and why we're all there. But until then, I will continue singing in my slippers. I have some very fancy red slippers that you might notice in the video, which was sent to me by, actually it's my mother-in-law's cousin who lives in Spain. She actually sent them to me. So I've continued singing in my red slippers since then. But I'm going to leave you with one of my pieces, which I don't think the children actually feature in this one. But it's a popular classic, which is why I'm going to share it with you. So I'm going to leave you with O mio Babino Caro from Gianni Schicchi, Puccini. And I hope you like it. And obviously, if you want to see more, I think I've got about 30 videos or 30 performances or so up on YouTube now. So please do go and have a look. It's Christina Smith, basically, on there, and I'm sure others will. I'm sure Helen will be able to provide you with all the links to my channel, so you can have a good look and have a good laugh, and hopefully enjoy some music and pick out the bits that suit you and the bits that don't. Not everybody, there's a bit of fashion in there, and it's all Zara sort of special buys for that week, in a size 8, so that's not gonna, particularly the gentlemen of my chorus, that's not of interest to them, so feel free to fast forward to the last few minutes where you'll find all my singing. So thank you so much for your time today. It's been lovely being able to talk to you. Hopefully I'll be able to see some of your faces one day. But until then, enjoy singing in my slippers. Take care. Goodbye.
Oh
Thank you, Christina. That was lovely. Doesn't she have a beautiful voice? I promise I will put the link to Christina's YouTube page. I'll either email it to you or put it on our Facebook page if you're interested in hearing any more of her recordings, because she just sounds stunning. So thank you, Christina, for putting that together for us. And thank you to Wendy for putting us in touch with Christina. I'd now like to hand you over to Toto James, who's going to do a little demo making some very simple chocolate and pecan cookies. Toto is a friend of mine. She's on the National Board of Trustees, and she and I did our WI Advisor training together quite a number of years ago now. So please enjoy this. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Toto, and I've been asked by Helen to demonstrate one of my favourite recipes, chocolate chip and pecan cookies. Before I start, I just wanted to say that we live in unprecedented times, and I hope that you and your family and your loved ones are all keeping well and keeping safe during this time. So I'll go on. Chocolate chip and pecan cookies. The recipe I'm using is by one of my favourite chefs, Bill Granger, who's an Australian chef. And I've got my ingredients ready. I've preheated the oven to gas mark 4, which is 180 degrees, or if you have a fan oven, 160 degrees. So the ingredients are as follows. I have 125 grams of unsalted butter that's been softened. I'm using a spreadable margarine. You're meant to use 110 grams of soft brown sugar and 55 grams of white sugar. In the current climate, I wasn't able to find brown sugar, so I'm sticking to white caster sugar. I have 1 egg. I have a teaspoon of vanilla extract, 150 grams of plain flour, half a teaspoon of sea salt, a teaspoon of baking powder, 100 grams of dark chocolate, or you can use milk chocolate that's been chopped up, and 70 grams of pecans. You can also use walnuts for this recipe as well, and I've tried both and they're both quite delicious. So, first of all, you cream the butter with the sugar. So I've got my sugar, and I've left my butter out. I'm using margarine, but I've left it out also that it's softened, so it's quite pliable and quite easy to cream. Next you have to add the vanilla extract. Now we add a beaten egg, which I'm just beating before I put into the mixture. There you go. Right, now let's mix this until the mixture is smooth. There we go, we're getting there. Right, I think we're nearly there. Right, now we add the flour and the baking powder and the sea salt. Now we're going to mix that together until it's well combined. You'll see slowly that the mixture is becoming like a dough. I think we're almost there. Right, now we mix in the chocolate and the pecan nuts, and we mix this until it's well combined. It won't take too long. Now we're ready to put together our cookies by using this dough. So now we're ready to put this dough, which I have to say smells amazing, onto the baking trays, which I've got 2 baking trays here and I've lined them with greaseproof paper. So I think the easiest way to do this is to get some dessert spoons and put spoonfuls of the mixture, trying to make them into balls as follows. The cookies are going to spread, so bear this in mind and make sure that you allow plenty of space between the mixture for the dough to spread as your cookies bake. Any of our lovely dough. There we go. I'm going to use my spatula here just to make sure that I get all of this lovely dough. Make sure I get all of the mixture. Now this recipe is meant to make 12 cookies, which is what we have today. I've made this recipe several times and sometimes I've ended up with 13, a baker's dozen. So it just depends on how generous you are when putting the mixture together. Right, so we're now ready to put this in the oven. Now the oven's been preheated at gas mark 4, which is 180 degrees, or 160 if you've got a fan oven. You bake these in the oven for 10 to 12 minutes until they're pale golden brown. So let's put them in the oven. The recipe says 10 to 12 minutes, so I'm going to put the timer on 10 so we can check how they're looking. So let's have a look at how the cookies are looking. We've got 2 minutes to go, and as we can see, the cookie mixture has spread. So we've got some large cookies and they're cooking well. Although we've got 2 minutes to go, I think it's probably going to take a couple more minutes for the cookies to cook. But let's see. So it's now 10 minutes, so let's have a look at our cookies. As we can see, the mixture has spread, so we've got large cookies there. I'm glad that I did space the dough out to give them plenty of room to spread. I'm just going to open the oven and have a quick peek. As you can see, they're cooking, but they're not quite golden brown. The recipe said 10 to 12 minutes, so I'm going to put 2 more minutes on the timer, and let's see what they're looking like in a couple of minutes. Okay, so it's now been 12 minutes, so the cookies should be cooked. Let's check. They look lovely and golden brown, and I think they're ready to take out the oven. So they need to rest for 2 or 3 minutes on the baking trays, and then we can transfer them to a wide rack and let them cool completely, and then they're ready to devour. Okay, so it's been about 3 minutes, and so we can move the cookies to transfer them to a wire rack. Now, when the cookies are completely cool, you will notice that they are not crisp like a biscuit, but like a cookie. They're quite gooey and soft, with a crispy exterior but a soft gooey centre in the middle. Running out of space here, what can we do? One cookie left, no room to put on the rack. I just guess I'll just have to try it. Let's give it a go. So bearing in mind it's still all lovely and warm. Really lovely. You can taste the chocolate, the pecans, and the hint of sea salt. I hope you do give this recipe a go. Helen has a copy of a recipe that she'll be attaching and sending out to you shortly. All that's left for me to say is keep well and look after yourselves. Stay safe.
Thank you, Toto. Those look delicious. I just wondered if any of you have any ideas for speakers or people who could do demos for us. The committee we're all racking our brains and using all the connections that we have, but we are going to run out of ideas at some point. So if you know someone who might like to give us a little 20-minute talk, or perhaps do a 20-minute demo of some sort of cookery or craft project, that would be lovely, and just get in touch with me. So thank you in advance for that. That's all from me. On Monday, we have our Zoom get-together. There will be another quiz from Wendy, so you don't want to miss that. And that's it. Stay safe, everyone, and I'll see you soon. Bye.